Hey, Mark, if Canadians went to an American tournament, we just get destroyed.
Yeah, we suck.
Let's talk about that. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Shoulda Boosted. This is episode 28. I'm Brian, also known as Malorian, and with me is my favorite buddy, Mark. How's it going?
Well, now that I know that I'm your favorite, it's going pretty good, man. How are you doing?
It's going okay. It's going okay. I've settled into my work at home. I might not be doing as many things as I should be, but you know, this new world, I think it has a place for me. I think it's working out okay.
Yeah, you're not freaking out too bad?
No. I got lots of chocolate, lots of snacks, and luckily lots of models to paint, so it's going all right. How about you?
Not too bad. Starting a new job here, so work's a little busy, but
Nice.
get a lot of free time now, so that's kind of cool.
Great. So what
Yeah.
we're going to be talking about today, as we kind of got into there with the intro, is that there is, although there's not really a lot of in-person games going on, there are some online games and tournaments going on. So there is a SoCal series that's been going on, and Mark and I jumped into the third one that's going on right now. It's not done yet. We're actually in the middle of round 3. So what we're going to be talking about is basically what we took into that, how our games have gone so far, and then we'll talk about how we're really finding WarTable so far. And then we'll see how the time's going after. We might sneak in a surprise at the end. But Mark, when it came to this, and I literally dragged you into this, you were trying to avoid it. I was like, come on, Mark, come on, you can do this. What did you take and why?
Yeah, between you and Mr. Dan Cox there, you guys kind of surprised me. So I went with something that I was fairly familiar with, and I picked my Omidamos list, just because I know the list down pat, frontwards, backwards, upside down. It doesn't really take a lot of thinking, and there's not a lot of models. So with my Omo list, it's fairly straightforward. So you've got Omidamos, obviously, and he's got 4 Tormentors with him, and Lord Roger de Viros as his attachment. Then there's Elaine Ruinwood, Princess Regna, the Hermit, Nicaea 2, 3 Wretches, Valen Hawk, a Min Cultist unit, a Max Cultist unit with Orin, and then the Infernal Gate. I can unpack the list, like I said, fairly quickly, even though we're not using a death clock, so it really doesn't matter, but I love that. So yeah, I wanted to pick like the comfort blanket, if you will, at least for one list. And then for the second list I brought, it was something that everybody rants and raves about, and I hadn't really played a lot, but I can see why it's so good. I picked Agathon, Mr. Boogeyman himself. And in that list, it's Agathon, 2 Foreboders, a Soulstalker, a Tormentor, Roger, and then basically the same loadout for the solos. So Regna the Hermit, 3 Wretches, Valen Hawk. I actually have Eilish 2 in that. And then a max unit of Crow's Cutthroats, 2 min units of Cultists. 1 has the full boat attachment, so 3 Dark Sentinels and Orin. And then again with the Gate.
Nice. All right. So for mine, what I decided to take is I decided to bring my Signar to this. I ran a Haley 2 Striker 2 pairing. My Haley 2 being a heavy metal list that has a couple of Fireflies, a Lancer, because I couldn't afford Thorn, and a Squire. I also got Strangeways and a Tinker, a Costa. I got Nemo 4 with a Dynamo, and then 2 Stormstriders. So just I'm going to control you and shoot you off the board type thing. And if you ever blink wrong, Dynamo can rocket across the board. He is a massive threat. So that's an interesting one. And then the other one is a Flame of Darkness, probably more a standard list, except it's more dudes than you'd normally see. Striker 2 with a Gallant, a Lancer again, Alexia 3, Throne, Hermit, Ragman, and then I got 3 units of Legion of Lost Souls with 3 Battle Priests each. And again, I think it's like what you said. I want to go into this with something that was a little bit comfortable. But another thing with this too is that I wanted something that I was planning to play. So, you know, if I was to go into a real tournament tomorrow, this is what I actually would have brought with me. And I know some people said it was silly because I mean, if you had this chance to go into an online tournament, you might as well just take whatever you want to take something crazy. And here I took something I literally have the models for and ready on my tournament tray. So when you were making your pairing, did the fact that it was a WarTable tournament change anything, or do you just kind of take it like a regular tournament?
Honestly, I took it just like I'd be walking to a regular steamroller. For me personally, I feel that this whole NorCal online tournament, whatever you want to call it, is kind of like a filler event for what WTC could have been for me.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
huge Shark Tank in this, obviously, because it's a very select group of people. And then it's at least one of the two lists I would have taken. So it does give me quite a bit of practice, which I like.
All right, yeah, that's probably a really good way to think of it. I mean, if you're missing out on the WTC, you might as well go into something like this. And one of the things that was also a reason why we want to pull you into this is that even though when I first went in, I was like, sure, let's give this a try. I'll just have some fun and play something silly. It very quickly turned into a thing like, oh no, this is not fun time. Canada's going to come in here and we're going to win this thing. So all of a sudden we had to try and pull in our best. So that's why we had to bring in the Mark guy.
Yeah, I thought you said best.
So getting into that then, of course, you have all these people from the States and then a handful of Canadians. So round one, Mark, who'd you get and how'd it go?
So round one, I got a guy I actually met this past year at LVO. His name's Adam Stewart. Pretty cool dude. He's super laid back, which is awesome. And he was playing Signar, and he had Striker 1 in the Flame of the Darkness, and kind of an odd Kane 2 list in heavy metal. And I talked to him about it afterwards, and I'll get into it in a minute. But Striker 1 was fairly standard, kind of like you were saying with your Striker 2. So it's Kane 1 with a Blockader, Alexia 2, Gabriel Throne, Arlen Versh, the Hermit, 2 Morrowind Archons, 2 Thamorite Archons, Ragman, 2 the Thamorite Advocates, which I've never actually got to see on the table before, and then unit of the Legion of Lost Souls with his Battle Priests. And the Kane list is a little weird, at least in my opinion. You can obviously shed a little more light on that, being the resident Kane player. So it's Kane 2, Ace, a Charger, a Hunter, and then the Squire, and then a handful of solos. So Strange Ways, Arlen Versh, the Hermit, Jake's with the Stormclad, 2 Morrowind Archons, and then that Nemo 4 guy, and a Toro. So it's a little different.
Yeah, and I can kind of see it. I mean, Kane 2, I mean, he's definitely not what he used to be, especially going into Mark 3. But I think the one of the things that's going to be big in these types of tournaments is just how you can really surprise people that aren't used to stuff. And I mean, Kane 2 can still kill your caster, give him the chance. And if nothing else, he has the ability to shoot off a unit every single turn. And then he has all the tools where he can, magic bullet things or trick shot rather, or, grievous things, whatever you can need on the in the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it was a little different. I wasn't too sure what it was going to do. It kind of looked a little mishmashed in my opinion, but what the heck do I know? So he did end up playing that Striker 1, and it was Striker 1 into not Zadaroth, but Agathon actually. So I was kind of giving her a try, see what would happen.
Okay, and how'd it go?
I did end up winning. I pulled off the assassination, so it was pretty good. I hadn't really played Agathon in like a competitive scene before, so that was kind of fun. It was kind of ironic. The guy I was playing Adam there is an Infernals player, and he played Agathon, or has played Agathon quite a bit. So he gave me a lot of pointers after the game was done on how to like streamline my play and a little bit smarter choices. So that was kind of cool.
Okay, so was there like a certain way you had to pull off the assassination, or is it pretty straightforward?
It was pretty straightforward. It was kind of run the foreboding. I keep saying Kane. Striker was basically camped in a little bunker behind a wall, and I ended up hellmouthing one of his Archons and then pulling him away from the wall a little bit and then just nuking him down with dark fires. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, usually Striker 1 is the chink in that armor. We have all these things with super high armor, and then Striker hiding somewhere, hoping that everyone forgets that he's there. So,
yeah, if you're a War Machine caster and you're probably not camping 5 or 6. You're probably dead.
For my round one, I had Brett Ward, and he's running his Crix. He had a Goreshade 3 list and Dark Host. That's the one he's going to end up running. But the other one that was also potential was the Negra 2 in Black Industries. So this one was kind of like a real mix of just all the big jacks and stuff like that, right? It also had like the gas before with a Toro and, big brute package and stuff like that. But he went for the Goreshade 3, which is kind of what I thought he would, just because of how I could just really smash the other list with my Striker 2 list. I dropped Striker 2 into this, and then so Goreshade 3 is running a Decimator and an Afflictor. Tartarus, Derek Wraith, 3 of the Machine Race, which are really just to run up there and be feeded on so they can explode and stationary me. 2 Void Archons, 2 units of the Bane Riders, and then a min unit of the Bane Warriors with the UA. So in my mind, the way that this is going to go is that I super out threat them. I'm going to run in there. I'm going to take out almost all the Bane Riders. And even though there'll be some stuff to hit me back, I can come back even harder with the vengeance attacks and whatever I need to really just take out everything. So I was feeling pretty good going into it. And then basically going into the game, I ran up and feed attacked. Everything was looking great. I had all my buffs out there, and my dice just crapped the bed. Whereas in my mental math and the math that I did after, I should be killing like 3 to 4 riders from each unit. I killed 3 total. And so the reprisal was brutal, where not only you had like those Void Archons coming in and like punching a dude or 2 and spraying down 3 more, those Bane Riders I didn't think would be there got their vengeance attack, they got their impact attacks, their regular attacks. So I was in a lot of trouble, and basically turn after turn it just got worse and worse, whereas as I finally started killing some of those riders, he kept on recurring them back. But luckily, when I was like on my last legs and just had a few models left, he left Goreshade 3 just outside of 16 inches because he thought that was my threat, but my threat's actually 17 inches. So I basically just had to kill a model that was in the way, which was really the objective, and then I just went Super Saiyan, charged through, and one-hitted away Goreshade 3. So really, I feel lucked out in this one. I mean, you could say I didn't get lucky because of how the dice started things off, but he played it really well, and I started to see how a Void Archons could just destroy my army, and how really the Bane Riders that I thought like, oh, once I take them out, this will be easy, they were the chump blockers in front, really just stalling me while the Voids really did all the work.
Yeah, those voids are pretty nasty.
Yeah. So after round 1, we're each 1-0, so going pretty well. Rest of Team Canada doing pretty well as well. So round 2, Mark, who you got and how to go down?
So round 2, I've never actually played against this gentleman before, like physically at different cons, but I've seen him a few times and I've met him, and his name's Quinn. He was playing Crix as well, and his lists were, I was a little more comfortable with these 2 lists. I've seen a couple locals here play them, or at least a variation of them. And so then he had Scar 1 and Scabrous. And Scar 1, I've played that game. It sucks, but I can do it. And with the threat of Agathon being there, I was pretty sure he wasn't going to drop Scar. So he did drop Scabrous, and I dropped better Scabrous, or Agathon. So... and it pretty much went exactly how you expected. He knew it was coming, and I knew it was coming. He basically backed up turn 2 and tried to stay out of Hellmouth reach, which he did, but he didn't stay out of Darkfire reach.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, so after our game, he said, oh, maybe I fucked up. Maybe I didn't communicate my intent and blah, 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 but I don't know. I'm pretty sure that a 2-inch difference is not intent, and it's more of a oops, I fucked up.
Yeah, and I mean, well, we can talk about this later, but it's really tough sometimes to lose track of what models are where because when you zoom out to actually see where things are on the board, you can't really tell if there's a lot of models to tell from like this warrior model from this solo type thing. So I can see that these things would happen a lot.
Yeah, that is actually one of the things he said. He confused one of my foreboders with something else. I was like, oh, well, I'm really sorry, man. He goes, no, it's on me. So, yeah.
Nice. So you kind of take out Agathon to kind of see if she can do some good work, and it turns out, yes, she's very, very good.
Yep, it's pretty good. Pretty good. What about you? How'd your round 2 go?
So my round 2, I got this noob that's never played before. His name's Aaron Allen. Oh, wait, no, he's amazing. So
He's pretty good at playing with his cock, I hear.
absolutely, yeah, very strong convergence player, and he's running a little pairing here, both in Destruction Initiative, one being Lacant and the other one being Orion. The Orion one's really based all around all the lightning stuff, so it has a prime Conifex. Yeah, that's what it's called, kind of flux, I think. Also has like a couple of modulators. Basically, it's all the lightning package. It has Nemo 4 in it, so it's lightning, lightning, lightning. Off you go. I really didn't think he was going to drop that because, hey, if you shoot me a bit, I'll get vengeance and I can smash all these things on my feet. So I really expected the LeConte list, which is just a whole bunch of lights, like a bunch of galvanizers, a bunch of negators, and then behind that, he has the Void Archon and he has the TEP, and I mean, again, just waiting for these sprays to come down. So I'm figuring he's going to drop LeConte, jam me with his feet. I might use my feet to kill a few lights, and then he's just going to spray down my world and still be really safe. Well, the funny thing is that when we got into the game and I'm like, okay, I'm running Striker 2. What are you going to be playing? He said Aurora 2. And so maybe just to kind of like give him some credit here, he's playing in 3 different online tournaments right now. So you got a little mixed up of like what he was playing and what. But in the end, he actually decided to go with Orion, which really surprised me until he kind of reminded me saying like, Brian, do you remember that my stuff has Plasma Nimbus? I'm like, oh no. So all these heavies and Colossal that I thought I was going to feed all over and beat up and it was going to be glorious, now every single time I hit them, they're going to zap me and I'm going to die as long as he can like roll a 5 or whatever. So really, really bad matchup. I'm basically just going to like planning to go up there and go for the assassination. So with that, I go first. I'm really just running on up. And then when he goes up, I notice again that he has his caster Orion within 17 inches. It's like 16.8 or something away from Striker 2. And then he puts one of his little servitors standing in front that'd be blocking me. Now, luckily, he also didn't realize that my Legion of Lost Souls have guns. We're only Rat 5, so we're not that great, but they were able to walk up, and I just rolled fire, getting everything I needed. So even when he tried to shield guard away, I killed all the models I needed, and then, yeah, in comes Striker 2, superpowers, gets in there, one hits Orion, game over. So you might be seeing a theme here that really my wins have been all luck, whereas like my opponent doesn't know my threat and then I get in there. And I really feel for Aaron in this one here where, he was thrown for a loop. He kind of thought this was part of a different tournament. He was probably looking at other lists and then was quickly switching over to this one here. And I can't really blame him for that. But there you go. We're both 2-0. You're using some superpower skills and I'm just getting lucky. But hey, we're getting the wins.
What's that saying? Better lucky than good, right?
Oh, man. There are so many horseshoes up my ass. I'm like waddling like a penguin. So round 3 is what we're currently in right now. And you've already did yours. You did yours today or was it yesterday?
Yeah, I finished it this morning, actually.
All right. Who was it and how to go?
So again, I've never actually played against this person in person because usually he's running or judging events. And I get to play against Will Rutan. Pretty good dude, pretty happy guy. And it was, again, something I didn't expect. He is actually playing minions. And in our little event there's actually, I think, 5 minions players.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so definitely wasn't too sure what to expect. He was running Jaga Jaga in Will Work for Food. And then his other list is Barnabas 2 in Will Work for Food as well. Basically identical lists, except for the Jaga Jaga list has a meat thresher. And in the Barney 2 list, he's got a bone swarm and a couple other support models. So, yeah, it's a little weird. I was pretty confident that he was going to drop Jaga Jaga because I don't have really any ranged mitigation in my lists. So I don't have Zadaroth, don't have any Umbral Guardians. So I was pretty sure that's how it was going to go, and I was extremely wrong. He ended up playing Barney 2. And yeah, so being a Hordes caster, I don't really feel super confident with the assassination with Agathon yet. I haven't really unlocked how to do that properly. So
I went. You're doing pretty well so far.
Well, I've only played against Warmachine casters.
Yeah,
Hordes, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
So I ended up going with Omo, just again, comfort blanket and hopefully see what can happen. And played against Will there, ended up getting to bottom of 4. And I went on assassination again. He got a little greedy and didn't really respect what I could do with the list. So he came in with Barney, killed a couple heavies, and spent down too far. So he had to feat. And actually, the feat's really interesting. I've never seen it, never really thought about it. But he can sacrifice his own warrior models to gain a fury, gain a corpse, and heal himself all at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a Butcher 3 kind of feat in my mind, at least, but you've got to sacrifice your own shit.
Yeah, but you take something cheap to kill off, so it's not so bad.
Yeah, he ended up killing off, what was it, a couple Feral Valkyries, some of his little bone shakers that he makes in his little unit there. So he spent down to kill the 2 Tormentors, and then ended up feeding and basically camping 4 again after wiping off 2 heavies by himself.
Seems pretty solid.
Yeah, but to do that and get to where he needed to go, he actually had to take a free strike from a Tormentor. So that was not okay.
No, you don't want to do that usually.
No, he took like 9 points or something with that, and he didn't want to transfer it because he needed the Fury, I guess, to do the killing.
Okay, and so basically once you took that free strike, he then, was in a spot where he could actually be killed off by you at the end?
No, he was, well, yeah, I guess. The entire time he knew where he was going. He was just kind of hoping he would do a little more work. But yeah, he didn't. There was, I think, kind of like a little pocket of 5 heavies kind of looking at him. And he thought he could get to at least 4 of them. But when he was planning everything, he also didn't really look too carefully by my caster. And I had a Tormentor sitting beside Omo, basically playing guard dog.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he did really well in baiting out the counter charges with his Void Archons, or not Void Archons, sorry, Primal Archons. So I counter charge with my Tormentors and then end their movement, so they'd be shadowbound, so I couldn't move, so I'd have to shake that. So that was kind of annoying.
No, that's a neat one.
Yeah, it was definitely different. It's super smart of him. But yeah, after the free strike, Omo kind of came in and cleaned on up.
And that free strike, was that something that was like, oh, no, I didn't really think that was going to happen? Or did he know he had to get a free strike to get where he wanted to go to?
Oh, he fully knew what was going to happen.
Oh, okay.
Because we even talked about it. He's like, well, I have to go here, but then I'm going to take a free strike. Because that is one good thing about this WarTable stuff. You can, for any of you guys that haven't played, when you move a model, it doesn't just say, okay, you're done. It makes like a little path on the screen, like where your model would go. And if you choose not to do it, you have to confirm or cancel your movements when you're done. So if you move your model to the little path and then you click the little X beside it, it'll actually snap that model back to its original spot. So it was completely planned out. He knew he was going to take one. He just didn't expect the dice to go that well.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, so you're 3-0. You're looking really, really good. My round 3, I'm going to be up against Corey Doyle. So he's one of our fellow Canadians here with us. Someone I really didn't want to play against because, 1, I don't want to be fighting against fellow Canadians, and 2, he's probably a much, much better player than me. So what
Well, I don't
he's
know about that, but he definitely has the no pants home advantage.
That is very true.
So you got to watch out for
So what
that.
he's going to be running is luckily stuff I know fairly well because he's playing mercenaries right now. He's playing an awesome list like he always loves to do, and it has some bashers in it, some drillers, a whole bunch of solos, blah blah blah. Like basically your kind of like mishmash type of thing he likes doing with his Osram. He's not going to drop that against me. He's going to drop this Thexus list, which is, oh my God, this thing has two wardens and a subduer. It has a couple of agitators because you always take a couple of agitators. Has some pistol wraiths, has void archons, Gaspy with a couple of stalkers, and then it has 2 units of overlords and then the cutthroats as well. And so what that really means is assassin jank extreme, with all the TKs and shooting things from behind and the long threat from Gaspy between the TKs and the feats and all stuff like that. If I try dropping my Haley 2, my Bell engines will just go backwards into the side and Haley's just going to die. And if I drop my Striker 2, he's just going to spray off all of my infantry and it's going to be sad days forever. So you can assume that when we do our next show, when we might do an update, that I lost this game, but hey, you never know. He might make the same mistakes that my other opponents have made.
So do you think he is actually going to drop the Texas, or does he think he's going to play that mind game where he knows he knows you know?
See, that's the glorious thing here, is that I've already called them out and saying, like, I know you're going to drop the Texas list. So here are the two options. One, he'll drop the Texas list and I'm right. Or two, he's going to say, you can't call my drops, and he's going to go for Osram, which I would be super happy with. So we'll see which way he goes, but he's going to drop Texas.
I'm honestly saying he's going to drop Osram.
All right, well, we'll find out. We can do an update when we do our next recording.
Nobody tells Corey what to do.
Exactly.
Except for his wife.
Well, nobody puts Osram in a corner.
That's right. With his Osram list, what is how well do you know it? The inner workings of it.
I mean, I obviously have not played Osram as much as him. He's played it hundreds of times, but I mean, I get the gist of what it's supposed to do here. I mean, there's a lot of support solos with guns that are supposed to chip things away. There's a lot of small pieces there, like the bashers that are supposed to be pushing things away. So it's supposed to chip away at you and then also push for scenario as well. So as long as I'm smart about that, but the biggest thing is that I hit so hard with Striker 2 that I can break through that. I think I have like an 8-point swing in my list. So if he raises up his armor a few with Osram, it's nothing. I'm still going to take off everything he puts in my face.
Right. So in his Osram list there, he's got Balthazar Bamfist.
Yeah.
Any idea what that's about?
Well, it's always good to have the Empower there. That's always something good for extra focus, but it's also more with that scenario jank as well, because he had that, whatever the thing is, where things by you can move it like 3 inches away from you type thing. So it's more of that board control.
Okay. That makes sense then.
Yeah, so we'll see, but, I'm up against a superior player, so, we'll find out what happens. But then again, hey, I got the whole Aaron Allen one out of the way, so maybe I can get lucky again.
Do it. I believe in you, Brian.
All right, so let's talk about our kind of thoughts on WarTable. So now that we've played a few games and we have a good understanding about it, what are your general thoughts? What are the things you love the most about it? What are some of the things you're like, this could be improved?
Well, as you know, to begin with, I was super against playing in WarTable or Vassal or any of that kind of stuff, just because I was personally saying it was kind of a waste of time because it's not the same. And I will happily admit I was wrong. I'm a super big fan of WarTable. I played Vassal before, and I think that WarTable is hand over fist superior. It's a lot simpler. The fact that you can preload maps and scenarios and literally do anything you want, just like you would in a regular tabletop game, bar that it's going to take you a little bit longer, I think is pretty cool. There's no death clock on there, so that works great for me because that's everybody knows it's my biggest enemy. And I think the only problem I have with it is that if sometimes the measurements there are, if for you guys who haven't played on WarTable before, the measurements when you move a model, they're basically overlaid and it's all relative to other models. So the way they calculate it, it rounds up, I guess, when you're moving to
really?
to like the 100th millimeter. I don't know what it is, but that was one of the issues that my opponent had today, that he doesn't think the math is right, and I can kind of see where he was bringing that up. But because when a model snaps like that, sometimes it can get agitated by a little bit.
Oh, maybe, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So there was that issue, but other than that, I think it's a super slick program. I think the guys that did it, Jaden, and whoever the actual guy that coded it was, I can't remember his name. I think his name was Lars.
It is now.
It is now. Jaden and Lars. I think you did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as you, where I had played the old Vassal years ago, and it was trash, and I just did not want to get into something like this again. But when WarTable came out, I played around with it a bit, and it is so user-friendly and easy. The fact that you can just jump in and, like you said, load in these maps and things, load in your list straight from Conflict Chamber. That is so convenient to be doing that. And then also the fact that all the stats and things are there for you too. It's like, oh, you got this model? Oh, not the stats. Sorry, here's all the boxes and damage grids and stuff like that, all ready for you to go. And moving things around, super easy. I think the only things I've been having an issue with so far is, if it wasn't for people telling me that I should be doing things like putting on a burrower marker so I could be using that as a token, that would have made my first games harder. Luckily, since then, they've put in some improvements, so tokens like feat tokens are way easier to do. But another thing I found is just like the finickiness of, say, when I want to go into shield wall and I want to put all my guys base to base, if you ever overlap a model, it goes to an X, and I wish it could just be like it stops when it touches a model, because eventually my opponent was like, you know what, if you're within like 0.1, I'm cool, because otherwise for 30 models trying to slowly get them on the shield wall is a huge pain. And I know some other people talk about things like being able to drag over multiple models and move several at the same time. But, you know, now that I've played a couple of games with like 40 models in it with all these warrior models, it's really not so bad, right? You kind of move one to where it's supposed to be and just drag. I also kind of wish that you had the choice of not having to say the yes, that if I drag somewhere, yes, that's where I want to go. I understand why it's there, but I mean, again, when you got 40 models, it can slow things down for you. But yeah, it is fantastic. I know they're making improvements all the time. They just did that new one where they improved a lot of the widgets and stuff like that. So, I mean, who knows, in a month or two where they maybe add in some more improvements, this is just looking really good. And I think the people that haven't tried it yet really should be trying to do that.
Yeah, I think we got a, what do they call it? A hidden gem here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of wish they had this before. I mean, like if right in the beginning of when this whole pandemic thing started, it was like, well, we have WarTable, let's start playing. I think it'd been a much more smoother transition, but it got to the point where like, okay, we kind of had nothing good for a month and a half, and then finally this came after a while. So hopefully all those people that are like, you know, getting a little bit rusty and dusty on the shells come out and give this a try if they can't arrange any in-person games.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it does take a little bit longer than a standard game, but it's definitely something you guys need to try out.
All right. Well, I think we're getting to the end of the time here, unless you had anything else to chat about. Next week, we can go and talk about how things are, or maybe whenever we do this one. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks since the last one. We might wait till this thing's done and then report that then. We'll see. We do what we want, right? We're the bosses of our own podcast.
Exactly.
Anything else you want to cover before we go, Mark?
No, man. I think pretty it.
Fantastic. All right. So for all you out there, thanks for listening to another Shoulda Boosted, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.